Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES for 10% off any purchase over $10. If you use that promo code between now and January 28th, you will automatically be entered in a drawing to win a Ravnica Allegiance booster box. Check out the description below for details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Happy New Year. This is the first Market Watch of 2019. So has anything changed so far in this new year compared to 2018? Not really. The market remains very turbulent. We'll be looking at the impacts the Ravnica Allegiance previews this week have had on the market, as well as many other things that are going on. Quickly before we get started though, just a fast reminder, if you check out the description below, you'll find a few ways to support the channel, one of which is our Patreon page. You're also going to find links to products on Amazon down below. If you make any purchases once you go through that initial link, we'll get a small percentage no matter what it is. And finally, Flipside Gaming, still offering a promo code for our viewers. And they actually do have pre-orders for Ravnica Allegiance booster boxes. I'll link that separately below. As always, thank you not only to the folks that look at those links, but to each and every one of you. Y'all make the channel what it is. And let's get into today's cards. And we'll begin, as we always do, with the top 5 cards from standard sets that have lost value this week. You're going to see a lot of the key cards from previous metas in here that are just a little soft right now as people are kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with Ravnica Allegiance. Number 5, Resplendent Angel goes down 61 cents to 16.38. So Angel's deck started to fall off a little bit towards the end of the last meta. Could they resurge with this new meta? There are new cards coming, including Seraph of the Scales, so maybe it's possible, but I don't think that's where a lot of people's attention is right now. Number 4, the Immortal Sun goes down 72 cents to 18.83. Again, this has really been propped up because of Commander more than anything. I mean, this has seen standard play here and there, most recently in Selesnya Tokens decks sometimes. However, the Afterlife mechanic in Ravnica Allegiance does make me at least a little interested in this card. Number 3, Arclight Phoenix goes down 77 cents to 26.55. This card has been climbing aggressively over the course of the last few months because of all the play it was seeing, not only in Standard, but also Modern. In Standard, it had an incredible season. I don't think it's going to disappear or anything like that. Although I will say the card was tapering off just a little bit towards the end of the last meta. In fact, I did see some Izzet Drake decks not running this at times, which was a little unusual, but they still performed very well. However, the ones that still ran it also performed very well. In Modern, this card performed really well in November, December. We saw this in Izzet Phoenix decks, Mono Red Phoenix decks, Runaway Red decks, Hollow Phoenix decks. It was kind of all over the place. So I do think this card will remain a little soft in the short term until people can start wrapping their head around the next standard meta. Number 2 is Vivian Reed, down 83 cents to $22. Another card that actually has a pretty high price tag if you compare it to the amount of play it was seeing at the end of the season. However, it was still seeing a lot of play. I mean, Golgari midrange decks, Selesnya Tokens decks were using this last season. I do think this will still have a home, but $22 still feels a little expensive to me. I think it will come down more in the coming weeks. Number 1, Rekindling Phoenix goes down 93 cents to $24.99. This is another card that felt like it was tapering off a little bit towards the end of the last meta. Started off strong with a lot of red aggro in the previous standard, but as time went on, we saw more Golgari midrange start to take over. So people started to lapse on this card a little bit. Standard players aren't selling their copies though. They know this card could resurge at any moment in that format. Because of that, you're seeing some softness. Not a lot of people are going out trying to buy it right now. But again, when the new standard meta starts up, there's a good chance this will be in an important deck, and then it could stabilize very quickly. Alright, it's Ravnica Allegiance speculation time. Here's the top 5 cards from standard sets that have gained value this week. Each and every one of them are moving due to Ravnica Allegiance reveals over the last couple weeks. Number 5, Kumina Tyrant of Araska goes up 70 cents to $7.95. Now, this card's been hot for a number of weeks now. There's been speculation that because of some of the things we've seen during the preview season so far, that not only is Simic possibly going to have a resurgence, but maybe, just maybe, even the Merfolk deck. We've seen cards like Zagana Utopian Speaker, Simic Ascendancy, Incubation and Incongruity. Even to some degree, Titanic Brawl might even help the deck out. Combine that with the fact that the Simic mechanic adapt feels like it could help Merfolk as well. A lot of people are paying attention to this card, and you know what? Even if it doesn't pan out in Standard, you could play this in Commander, so I do think Commander players are thinking about this as well. Number 4, Angrath the Flame Chain goes up $1.56 to $18.73. This is another card a lot of people have been paying attention to over the last few weeks because not only are we getting a whole bunch of new Rakdos cards into the environment, but also the Spectacle mechanic, which goes along with Rakdos in this new set, plays really well with this card. So it's not going up as much as it was going up over the last couple weeks, but it's still increasing by more than $1.50. That's saying something. Number 3, Divine Visitation, up $1.59 to $7.98. This one is going to play really well, potentially with the Afterlife mechanic. Now, I said this over the last couple weeks. I'm not completely sold on this one for a standard card because it does cost 5 and it doesn't do anything on its own. It requires other cards to work in conjunction with it. But if anything can push this card and actually make it work in standard, it will be the Afterlife mechanic. Number 2, Elenda the Dusk Rose goes up $11.86 this week to $18.95. Wow. Okay, so this card was starting to get hot over the last few weeks. We knew Orzhov cards were coming to the environment. That started to heat it up just a little bit. We saw the Orzhov mechanic Afterlife. Okay, feels like that would work well with this. The card heated up a little more. But last week, we saw a number of cards that are very conducive to an Aristocrat-style deck, perhaps in Standard. And especially Teysa Karlov was revealed last week, and that plays really well with this. So there's a lot of speculation that that deck could have potential, and this card jumps this week. Number 1, Nexus of Fate goes up $13.71 to $32. Wow. So at the end of the previous meta, we saw Nexus decks starting to make a comeback. We saw Bat Nexus, we saw Jeskai Nexus, both perform pretty well. Since then, though, it feels like that deck could be really positioned well going into the next meta. We saw some more control elements introduced, but no card has had an impact on the price in the same way as Wilderness Reclamation has. Once people saw that card, immediately they started thinking it needs to be in a Nexus deck. Alright, so that does it for Standard. Let's move on to the top 5 Modern legal cards that have lost value this week, and you're still seeing impacts here from the Ultimate Masters reprints. Number 5 is Bitter Blossom for Morningtide. This goes down $1.73 this week to $40.25. This is the original version of the card. This did get reprinted in Ultimate Masters as a Mythic Rare, so it is a little soft right now. Still sees a lot of play, especially in Legacy, more so there than Modern nowadays. Some big decks too, including things like 4-Color Loam. Many times you'll find a couple of these in the sideboard there. Number 4, Karn Liberated from Modern Masters 2015, going down $1.80 to $68.40. So Karn still has a little bit of a price break going on due to the Mythic reprinting in Ultimate Masters. Of course, this is a key Tron card. Number 3, Tarmogoyf from Modern Masters. This one goes down $1.98 this week to $61. And I mentioned last week that all these Goyfs are just trying to find their price point now. And this was reprinted, of course, as a Mythic in Ultimate Masters, but it sees a lot of play. In Modern right now, Jund decks, Golgari midrange decks are both doing really well. And you'll find this in other builds there too, as well as builds in Legacy and Vintage. Number 2, Engineered Explosives. This is the Modern Masters version, going down $2.22 to $45.26. And this card has been soft. It's been losing a lot of value recently, partially due to the fact that it was reprinted as a rare in Ultimate Masters, but also percentage of play was down a little bit even before that. Still sees a lot of play though, sometimes in sideboards of Legacy, a lot of times in sideboards of Modern, and it is part of the main deck of Ironworks combo. Number 1, Sword of Feast of Famine goes down $2.24 this week to $34.34. This is the one for the Modern event deck. It was actually surging last week, so you're seeing some snapback this week. Nothing too surprising here. This is more of a commander card than anything. It's a real solid one, but I do think the turbulent price is more due to the fact that you don't see a lot of copies of the Modern event deck version online, so just a few listings could shift the price on this either way. Okay, let's move on to the top 10. Yes, we're doing top 10 again. Modern legal cards that have gained value this week. Again, we're seeing a lot of impacts from Ultimate Masters reprinting still. Cards that people are picking up because they were able to get other cards in Ultimate Masters. And also, yes, Ravnica Allegiance is playing a role here too. Number 10, Stomping Ground from Guildpact goes up $2.27 to $23.19. Now, of course, some people might want to pick this up in preparation for Standard, whether they're just trying to test and they want real cards, or they want to trick out a future Standard deck. However, remember, this is a key part of many important Modern mana bases, including Dredge, which is a very good deck right now. Number 9, Liliana the Veil from Modern Masters 2017 goes up $2.65 to $84.76. Now, this was reprinted as a Mythic in Ultimate Masters, and already it's coming off that price break. The card is just too iconic to stay down very long, and also it sees playing a lot of very important decks, including Jund, Golgari midrange, and other Modern and Legacy builds. Number 8, Horizon Canopy from Future Sight goes up $3.08 to $79.99, not to be outdone by the iconic Masters version, which got hot over the last couple weeks. That one's stabilizing a little this week, but this one starts to climb again. Now, this original Future Sight version is always hot because it has that unique art, that unique card border, and it's harder to find in good condition than the iconic Masters copy of it. Now, aside from that, this is also in a lot of really important modern decks right now. Bant Spirits, Humans, Hardened Scales Affinity, Hexproof, just to name some of the really big ones. Number 7 is a Commander card. Possessed Portal goes up 311 this week to 687. This has been pretty hot recently. It plays really well with Muldrotha the Gravetide. Number 6, Mox Opal for Modern Masters 2015. Haven't seen you in a while. Up 335 to 103.34. Well, there you go, breaking $100. This card, of course, sees tons of play. Ironworks Combo, Hardened Scaled Affinity, and so many other modern, legacy, and vintage decks. Number 5, Spire Bluff Canal goes up $351 to $11.95. I think this is the first time we got this card on a modern list. We've seen it in standard in the past, of course, when it was still legal there. Now, why is it jumping up this much this week? Is it Phoenix decks? This is a key part of the mana bases there, as well as Storm decks, which are pretty popular as well, and other modern builds. Number 4, Postmortem Lunge goes up 435 to 522. A new Phyrexian mana card, increasing quickly. Surprise, surprise, right? Feels like this happens all the time nowadays. Now, this one does see play in counters company decks. Many times you'll find 4 copies in that particular build, the one that runs Vizier of Remedies and Devoted Druid, for example. Aside from that, I kind of wonder if people are thinking about trying to work this into a Vengeance deck, just because Vengeance deck cards have been so hot, since many of the key cards were reprinted in Ultimate Masters, so maybe that's feeding into this a little bit too. Number 3, Gristlebrand goes up 554 to 1995. This is the Avacyn restored version of the card, and like I just mentioned, because of many of the reprintings in Ultimate Masters that work into the Goryo's Vengeance deck in Modern, the pieces that weren't reprinted are getting hot right now. This is one of them. Number 2, here we go. Thornbite Staff. Okay, this goes up $640 to $9.99. This is from Morningtide. It's an uncommon, but we've said this many times in the past. Say it with me now. Morningtide had a particularly low print run compared to other modern era Magic sets. Doesn't take a lot to spike some of these cards, and that's what you're seeing here. So what actually spiked it? It was a Ravnica Allegiance card, and it kind of works like Birthing Pod. It's called Prime Speaker Vanifar. It's a creature that has a Birthing Pod style ability on it. So obviously, people are thinking about potential combos. Could this be a modern deck? I'm a little skeptical, but maybe. I won't rule it out yet. But again, even if it's not a modern deck, this is still going to be a great Commander combo. Number 1, second verse, same as the first. Intruder Alarm. Stronghold goes up $17.55 to $24.99. 8th edition goes up $27.05 to $34.99. Why is this going up? Everything I just said about the previous card applies here as well. This is all about Prime Speaker Vanifar. Now, this is a very extreme spike. No matter what happens, I would expect some snapback to be coming. People will see this spike and realize they have copies of this card that they don't use. Stores may notice they have some in inventory but never put them online. There's going to be a lot of cards showing up in the marketplace very, very soon. I have no doubt. That always happens after a big spike like this. This may be a natural buyout since this card was not in high demand before, but it also could be a speculative buyout. Okay, that brings us to our Vintage Spotlight. We're going to look at a few cards that are played in some of the older formats like Legacy and Vintage, and we're also going to look at some cards that are moving because of the collector's market. Back to basics. Our only Ultimate Masters card in today's video. Most of the other cards from the set are stabilizing pretty well this week. This one, though, is still going down $1.74 to $16.66. Now, this is a good Legacy card, but it was just hard to get prior to this reprinting, so it's coming down to a price point that makes a little more sense now. You will find this in decks sometimes like Miracles, not always out of the sideboard either, sometimes even in the main deck. Next we have Crocus. This is the Ultimate Masters copy, going down $306 to $40.85. Of course, this was reprinted as a Mythic in Ultimate Masters, which is why it is soft. It is another card that you find many times in Legacy or Vintage builds. First card going up in value on this list today, it is Lake of the Dead. This is on the reserve list, going up $2.99 to $37.95. You will find this in Mono Red Reanimator decks in Legacy. I do wonder, though, if people are being inspired by the Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth rare reprint in Ultimate Masters to maybe pick this up for some Mono Black Commander builds. Well, it wouldn't be a Vintage Spotlight without some unlimited cards that are spiking just because they're unlimited cards. Here's one, Word of Command. Now, this is on the reserve list and never got reprinted after this point, going up $12.44 to $125 this week. Here's another one, Clockwork Beast, going up $12.62 to $40.20. Now, this one is not on the reserve list and did get reprintings. Mana Vault, of course, this got reprinted recently as a Mythic and Ultimate Masters, but the unlimited version still going up $15.43 to $139.86. And one more. Navineral's Disc goes up 24.48 to 198.96. This is not on the reserve list and, of course, has been reprinted. All right, time for our Commander Spotlight. A number of cards to go through again, so I'm going to go kind of quickly. First, we have one losing value, Temporal Manipulation from Portal's Second Age, going down 212 to 73.40. Interesting Commander card here if you're looking for another way to take an extra turn. Of course, this did get reprinted as a Mythic Rare in Ultimate Masters, which is why this is soft now. Okay, now for the cards going up in value, beginning with Lady of Angela. Going up $1 to $39.99, not a big increase, but I like to point out when these reserve list gold cards from Legends are going up, some of them are interesting for Commander, and some of them are just interesting for collectability purposes as well. So here's the first of a few you'll see on today's list. Wound Reflection. This stays hot, going up $1.05 to $21.99. You'll find this in Xantcha Sleeper Agent decks as well as other builds. Here's another reserve list legend from Legends. It's Livonia Salone, going up $1.25 to $24.99 this week. Another card that can't cool off. Teferi's Protection goes up $1.56 to $32.63. You'll find this in many Commander builds nowadays. Cabal Coffers from Torment stays hot as well, up $1.62 to $34.99. This card saw a little bit more attention recently because Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth got reprinted as a rare in Ultimate Masters. Another card we've seen a lot on the show recently, Sakashima the Imposter, goes up $1.72 to $29.07. This is in a lot of those Yurko the Tiger's Shadow decks. Transmute Artifact. Now this is on the reserve list, which might be part of the reason why it is going up, but it's going up $2.42 this week to $170.99. It is a good Commander card for those lucky enough to have a copy of it. Recently, it got pushed even more for Commander due to the printing of Joyra Weatherlight Captain in Dominaria. Azuri's Predation heats up again, going up $2.55 to $8.98. Now, there's a number of cards from Guilds of Ravnica that play into the same strategies that this card plays into, which is why I think it's heating up as much as it is. Cards like Camaraderie, Beast Whisperer, Dawn of Hope, for example. Hazan Tamar, another one of these cards from Legends on the reserve list, goes up $2.79 to $174.60 this week. And another one, Rogar of Kirkheap, also on the reserve list, goes up $3.33 to $43.99. This additionally is getting hot right now because many people are speculating on the Kobold tribe. Concordant Crossroads from Legends on the list again. Now maybe this is going up because it's from Legends, but it is not on the reserve list. It did get reprinted in Chronicles. Goes up $3.90 this week to $109.24. There are some cards from Guilds of Ravnica that also play into some of the strategies that this same card will play into in Commander. Cards like Beast Whisperer, Assassin's Trophy, and Divine Visitation. Power Artifact, another one on the reserve list. Again, maybe that's why it's creeping up, but it's an interesting Commander card. Up $8 to $159.99. Mana Crypt has another huge week. Both copies. The original media promo goes up $6.73 to $176.54. Eternal Masters up $8.84 to $178.99. Kind of weird that Eternal Masters actually passed the promo, and I do think that will even out over the next few weeks. Maybe they both go down and Eternal Masters goes down a little more. Maybe the media promo comes up. Tune in next week to find out. Pauper Spotlight. Okay, just one card. You already know what it is. Do I even have to show it to you? It's the Black Lotus, a Pauper Oubliette. This time we're looking at the A variant from Arabian Nights, going up $2 to $39. The way you can tell the A variant is because the casting cost is kind of hard to read. You can see the 1 in the picture there is a little bit shaded. So this is the copy that's hot this week. Last week, the B copy was going up, so go figure. This week, the B copy is starting to stabilize down a little bit from the jump it had last week. So for the most part, maybe these are kind of a wash, but this is a good Pauper card that eventually I'm sure will get reprinted. But in the meantime, I do think it will slowly climb. All right, so that's the Market Watch for this week. Next week at this time, we will know every card that's in Ravnica Allegiance. I'm sure there'll be more impacts on the marketplace from this week's reveals, so stay tuned. But until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.